Michael.
Well, we're here, David.
You know,
Pretty exciting.
I'm always excited to be with you, Michael. And, you know, I felt it was very unfair of us to call the conference Goat Squared. We should have called it Goat Cubed with you in the house. You know, certainly one of the greatest of all time at almost everything you do. So I'm always honored to consider you a friend and to get to spend time with you.
Now, you're not saying that because I'm a Zeta shareholder, are you?
Well, you know, you've been a Zeta shareholder for a long time. But, you know, I greatly appreciate you. And one of the things that you have always talked about is the value of human capital and really, in many ways, the inability to value it and so on and so forth. But when you look at the future and you think about artificial intelligence, how is AI going to change the economy as it relates to human capital?
Well, David, the concept of human capital is really the potential of individuals, what their abilities are. And it makes up maybe a low of 75% of all real assets, maybe a high of 85%. And so if you look at the United States, and I'm going to get to AI, about 1,500 trillion to 2,000 trillion is the estimated value.
Would you say that again? How much?
1,500 to 2,000 trillion.
Trillion with the T.
Yeah. So if financial assets are 250 trillion.
Could the people in the back be quiet, please? Thank you very much.
The value of productivity is 6 to 8 times as much. And if you say the economy is 30 trillion, then it's 50 times or more. So you're thinking about what is the rate of return we're getting on the ability of human beings today and in terms of the economy. And it's a very small relative to this, and people move. And so the U.S. has been the greatest beneficiary of people moving to this country, believing they have a better chance of upward mobility, a chance to build their businesses. The most valuable company in the world today was a young man from Taiwan who came here. The CEO of Microsoft was born in India. The CEO of Alphabet, Google was born in India, and so on. And so,
you know, they were both from Hyderabad and went to the same school.
And the person that's built the leading insurance company in Canada was also at the same school, Prem Watsa. So
was the CEO of Adobe, who we don't really love, but I give him credit for that.
So the question is, this issues of immigration and other things, are the best and brightest people coming here? And so for all of 100 years or so, the best, most talented people came to the United States. Now, if you look at it by wealth, beginning 2 years ago, the number one place that all the millionaires move to is the UAE. U.S. is second, Singapore is third. Where do they come from? They move from China, they've moved from Russia, they moved from UK now, they've moved from India. And so the question is, this is the world's largest asset, and what is AI going to do to the asset? So I've been disintermediated many times.
Yet you continue to come back.
Well, that's because you evolve. So when I went to Wall Street, I was one of maybe 2 people that could calculate yields in their head in the 1960s. Then something came out called the calculator. Okay? Now everyone had access to a calculator. Okay? Then I could remember 10 million trades. Then a computer came out that could remember. So you have certain skills, but my view on AI is this: it has a lot of positives, it has a number of negatives that we're about to get hit with, but it enhances, but it's still based on one premise. And when you go to school, you study regression analysis, which is based on the past. So there's an underlying bias that the future is like the past. And so the skill set that's going to be required is analyzing that data, analyzing those things that are accurate or not accurate, but how is the future going to be different than the past? And so I still see the ability of humans to try to see the changes. When do you see these changes first? Do you have to wait for them to clearly see it, or do you see them earlier? So in healthcare and medicine, it's simple. Today, AI is playing a very important role and will play a more important role. The ability to analyze what's in your blood. You can detect cancer before you could ever find it. You're going to see Alzheimer's earlier. And so no human being is going to be able to compete with AI and knowledge on diagnosis of analyzing a biological species. On the other hand, you have a lot of people that have conclusions that are just not correct. And
is that new, Mike?
No, that's not new. But AI will multiply that from that standpoint. But I would say the greatest concern is an attack on not just knowledge being widespread and people having that, but an attack on social capital. So it's almost 60 years ago to the day that I wrote this formula. Maybe it'll pop up.
No, they had it up about 10 minutes ago.
And so at Berkeley, that human and social capital were 90%. Yeah. And that you needed access to capital. So if I asked the general population, you went online today, who created air conditioning? The number one answer is Carrier. That's wrong.
Thomas Edison?
Nope. No, there was a doctor 56 years earlier that created a cooling of an operating room so you have better outcomes.
Interesting.
But no one loaned him money. So the fact was he died penniless. No one knows that. But he didn't have access to capital. William Carrier had access to capital 55 years later. And so when you ask AI or anyone today, they'll tell you who was the founder. And that was because you didn't have someone that believed in that idea that was willing to finance it.
Well, and it looks like most AI companies have effectively unlimited access to capital right now, right?
Well, if you want your
At least over the last 2 weeks.
If you want your stock to go up, right, you let them know it's an AI company, right?
So I've heard.
So, but I think the challenge here is if the future is different than the past. The other challenge is the unbelievable amount of misinformation that's put out there. Hundreds of millions of bots that are pumping information.
We just heard from Tim Armstrong on the last panel that 50% of all internet traffic is now agents or bots.
So I think India banned TikTok because something that was mathematically impossible. Hundreds or thousands of times as many people were telling you that the citizens of Kashmir wanted to be part of China, not part of India. Most people thought it was an issue of Pakistan versus India. But when you saw this unbelievable amount of misinformation hitting India, that was it for TikTok in India. And you can look just at what the ban was partly here, where the vast majority of people on TikTok supported Russia, but the vast majority of people on Instagram were supporting Ukraine. The vast majority of people on TikTok were supporting Hamas, but the vast number of people. So these things, mathematical, it's impossible that these things could occur naturally. And many years ago, you might remember PayPal went out.
Still one of the biggest companies in the world, so we still remember PayPal.
Well, no, it wasn't that remembering PayPal, but they offered incentives to become on PayPal. And I think they were hit by 50 million or 60 million bots that collected that money.
Right.
So this is a challenge we have. And when you saw many times 50, 60% of all pictures are false that you're being distributed. If AI is picking that misinformation up, this is one of the great challenges to our country, the United States because there isn't a long line right now to go to China, not a long line to go to Russia or Iran or North Korea. But if you can attack the young people in America online and deliver a message and to them, the only way to defeat the United States at the end is from within. And so those are challenges. If we want to turn to the more positive.
Well, I was going to say, let's pivot here, Mike. We're gonna pivot this conversation for just a second because this is a whole host of problems for me. But when we think about how economies have grown, one of your premises is over the last, I believe, 100 years, we have almost doubled life expectancy. And in your opinion, I've heard you say this many times, it is one of the biggest drivers to the growth of GDP ever. How do you believe AI is going to change the healthcare system? And where do you think life expectancy goes?
All right, so I see slides come up. And when you think 4 million years of evolution result in an 11-year extension of life at the start of the 20th century. 1 out of every 2 children born at the start of the 20th century died before their 5th birthday. So if you wanted to have 3 kids, you had to have 6 to have 3. In this country, 20% of all children died before their 5th birthday. And so life expectancy was 31, and both you and I are happy that it's extended.
Thank goodness.
And so what is the greatest achievement of humankind? It's been not just the extension of life, but the extension of the quality of life. So you have a lot of measurements today. A 55-year-old man, say 40 years ago, 45 years ago, 1 year of term insurance for a 55-year-old man then is the same as a 75-year-old man today. So the insurance tables told you your probability of dying between 75 and 76 today is the same as your probability of dying between 55 and 56. And so the ability to diagnose cancer, the idea that every cancer, every cell in your body leaks into your bloodstream. If I could read the DNA of your blood, I could tell you what kind of cells you have in your body. So I can tell you you have a pancreatic cell floating around. I can't find any pancreatic cells in your body, but I can tell you that some cell is leaking into your body. So the earlier you identify a health problem, the easier it is for a solution. That is with us today. Now, America, as you know, David, always wanted the morning after pill, right? You want, do whatever you want.
Are you putting that on me, Mike? I have 5 kids, come on.
Well, no. You could eat whatever you want and then take a pill.
Got it. That pill I would take.
Okay, so what do we have today? We now have Eli Lilly, which is the most valuable medical company in the world by far, and Novo Nordisk, another one. They have delivered a product that first was going to try to control your weight.
Well, originally for diabetes.
And if I control your weight, I can control diabetes.
Yep.
Okay, now it's been approved for heart disease. It's been approved for kidney disease. It's been approved for sleep apnea. And it might be approved shortly for Alzheimer's. So what I've done here now is I'm changing the course of history for you. If you don't have the personal discipline that you don't want to order popcorn when you go to the movies, but that smell has overpowered you.
Well, it's not the popcorn, it's the butter.
Was that the secret? The butter?
Just don't put the butter.
Or you go and you don't really want to order those French fries, but who can resist
They are hard.
that smell?
Yes, they are good.
So now we have something that's adjusting your metabolism and potentially going to dramatically change the future. What started out, as you pointed out, weight and diabetes, that now seems to stop sleep apnea It might reverse heart disease. It might be reversing kidney disease. That's going to extend life. And so the idea that the challenge to the world, the whole developed world, including China, if we put it in, is getting older. China is now older than the United States, has a median age older, and therefore, except for pockets, India, Pakistan, sub-Saharan Africa, the population of the world is going down dramatically. China had 9 million children born last year. At one point, they had 30. So if life expectancy is 80 times 9 is 720 million people. Half the people in the country are going to disappear at this rate. And so, therefore, we're going to have to work longer.
Well, you're still working, so I mean, you're the poster child for this.
You know why I'm working so hard, David? Because they're not taxing you on overtime.
No.
Okay?
Are you trying to get me in trouble today,
Mike? Once you get rid of the 40 hours, the next 40, you might not get taxed on overtime.
We have 2 minutes. I want to talk about one of the greatest accomplishments I have ever seen. You have put together the Milken Center for Advancing the American Dream in Washington, D.C., which is 2 bank buildings, multiple other very large buildings in New York in Washington, D.C., diagonally from the White House, in one of the most premier pieces of property in the world. How you put this parcel together without anybody knowing, I have no idea. But, well, you are you. But bottom line, let's talk for the minute and 15 seconds we have left about the American dream.
So you can read that the American dream is dead. People can tell you it doesn't exist. People have written books. There's a leading newspaper in town telling you it doesn't exist. There are 8 billion people on the planet that think it exists. The highest percentage is Southeast Asia, then South Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa. And in the United States, 1/3 of the people think they've achieved their dream. And that dream might be coaching their daughter's soccer team. 1/3 of the people think they're on the way. And so we built this center for 12 years in 6 buildings, as you said, across from the White House and the Treasury, for the last third. The last third of people that think they're never going to achieve their dream. And so the goal there is hope. The whole place is a testimony to hope, and filming 10,000 people on their dream. And the tagline is, come find your dream in another person's story. So the first 150 focus groups we did with people left when we opened a couple weeks ago. The first response was hope. They felt more hopeful. And the second response was, it's challenging.
Should we play your video?
30 seconds to the video. So why is it challenging? They found a person like them who didn't know their father.
So they identified with someone.
And succeeded. They found a person that lived in a homeless shelter. And they succeeded. And so they found a person who had all their challenges in life, and now they can't blame it anymore. That's someone else's story. So I want to just run one video.
Well, before we run the video, I want to say 85% of all people who are successful identify with having had a mentor. And I thank God every day that you have been one of mine.
Thank you, David. So
Let's show the video.
I have to respond to that.
You're going to...
In the Talmud, it tells you a teacher learns from their students. Okay? So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay? All right. I want to introduce it. It's short. One of the largest correlations for a person that's homeless is they lived in foster care. So this is one of 10,000 videos we're doing. This is an individual, and 1 out of 6 shed tears when they're doing these videos with a stranger, thinking about their family's background, challenges. And here's a man that's an executive in Hasbro today. But let's look at his life, which is probably a lot different than ours.
Everyone deserves a chance in life. Everybody, right? No matter what your background is, no matter what your upbringing is, you deserve a chance. Now it's up to you what you do and make of that chance. And so I'm actually one of 13 kids. My parents adopted 11 children. We were a foster family as well too. We had over 250 foster kids come through the house through my lifetime. In some cases, there is a lot of hurt and pain that I've seen some of these children go through, that at some point in time, they're able to break it. And sometimes it happens later, sometimes it happens earlier. And those children that did find success and were able to move past the hurt, they're the ones who have actually had such a great deal of success. The American dream, I live it every day. I literally had nothing. Came from dirt. And I look what I have now. And the ability to give that back to people. That is it. Like it's being able to continue to advance your life and, to be quite frank, leave the world a better place than what you found it.
Love you.